our booster today has been named with a pretty cool name. You wanna tell us that?
Sure is. Our booster's named, so you're telling me there's a chance.
Classic
Love it.
90s movie reference
Love it,
there
love it,
for
love
all
it.
you Jim Carrey fans. But let's level set here. You think we're gonna stick the landing? Like if you were a betting lady in Las Vegas this evening?
So we think it's possible. You know, the truth is that this is an enormous goal. We're trying to land a giant building-sized vehicle that's plummeting down from space. There's just so much complex engineering that goes into this. But you know, it's time that we try it for real, and today is that day.
Let's do it. Let's put it to work. We'll see how it performs. But hey, no matter what happens, we're going to learn a ton, get loads of data, and apply it to NG2 and beyond. Now, that said, if we land this thing, I'm going to lose my mind.
You and me both.
Okay, good. Just setting expectations for everybody on this one. Now,
What is
some
going
other
on,
business to
everybody? Hope you
discuss
are
this
doing
evening is
well,
the
well. It is a great day here at Maddie Moolah headquarters. We are watching live as we get prepared for the New Glenn launch. This could be a long live stream. Appreciate the 19 of you that have joined in on YouTube. Hopefully we get some more people trickling in. It's an interesting launch. Good for space. Good for everything. Figured this is going to be monumental. You know, Rocket Lab partners with Blue Origin with respect to the Escapade mission, which isn't this mission in particular, but will be a future mission probably in the next 18 months or so. And we still don't have a countdown yet as to when they're going to launch. It is a 3-hour window opening that's starting at about 15 minutes, 1 a.m. Eastern time. Oh, look at that. That's a beauty. We're not drinking any alcohol. We are opening up a Spindrift. This is a flavored water. But look at this bad boy. We are living the dream here at Maddie Moolah headquarters. Let's listen in.
begins collecting data. For the broader system we're building, for the Blue Ring itself, you can think of Blue Ring as a utility vehicle, a multi-tool, or kind of a mobile service station that we can use to run errands around the solar system.
No countdown
Today,
as
on
of
this
yet.
mission, it's a super cool
No
pathfinder
countdown
for that
as of yet.
vehicle.
I'm sure we'll
that
find
will
out
be
more.
fun. We have some exciting details to share a little later on. We're going to get way in depth on the exact technology that we're
The
testing
window
today,
hasn't
as well
opened as of
as
yet.
Blue
It
Ring.
opens up in 15
But I'll
minutes.
tell you right now, I'm super excited about not
Look at
just
that
the
flare
launch,
stack.
but the payload, and for both, you know, the New Glenn team and the Blue Ring team. So much work has come together today. And that's why today is such a big deal. We're going to be laying the foundation of our mission to build a road to space for the benefit of Earth.
Such an exciting launch and just so much to aim for.
Yes, but to level set again, at the end of the day, we know that we're in this for the long haul. Today is just day one, the beginning of a new chapter for New Glenn. We're going to collect a significant amount of data, no matter what happens. And from our perspective, the way I like to put it,
This is giving me
data
ideas.
is the currency of
Because
success. The
if
more
I'm going to
data
be
we
live
have,
for
the better off we
Neutron,
are. The longer we fly, the more data we collect, the more we can crunch on, so we can reinvest
like I might
back
be
into New
actually in
Glenn
Virginia,
for New Glenn 2.
so I got to figure out how I'm going to actually stream that. Do I have to buy a
Absolutely. And that
tripod?
data is really going to be critical for our engineers and our ability to evolve New Glenn into a fully operational program. You know, with New Shepard, we've flown 28 missions so far, and we've sent over 40 astronauts to space. And while we consider that system fully operational, that flight data that we get after every mission helps our engineers fine-tune the system. It helps us refine our
Now, I
procedures.
do want to iterate, they are
reduces
going
the
to try to
overall
land
time
this
between
on a
launches,
barge,
and perhaps
which is going to be
most important of
impressive
all,
because
it significantly
while this is not
drives
as
down the cost
large
of
as the
spaceflight.
Falcon
And we
Heavy or
have
the
learned
Starship,
so much as New Shepard has progressed.
it is much
By
larger
the
than
way,
the Falcon 9.
those
And so
learnings
I'm curious to
all come
see
into
how it
play
looks.
on
Look how
New Glenn. We've
that
integrated
flare
a
stack
lot of
over
design
here to
and
the left.
operational
That's
lessons
probably
from
like 20
New
feet tall.
Glenn, excuse me,
So the
from New
New
Shepard
Glenn
into
next
New
to
Glenn.
it is this.
So, and speaking of lessons learned from New Shepard, there's that recurring Blue Origin theme of reusability. New Shepard has, with its booster, of course, one that lands, right? New Glenn, the same deal. But let's point out one big difference. New Shepard lands on a landing pad in the desert while New Glenn's landing pad is out in the Atlantic Ocean. I should take a moment to note,
Yeah,
the
no
ocean,
countdown as
the
of yet,
seas
but
out there
the
have been
window hasn't
quite rough for the last
opened
several
as of
days.
yet. So we got about
that
11,
is why
12
we took a little
minutes.
bit of extra time to get a really good chance.
In the
of
meantime, I'm
landing
going to
this
get my
booster
feet
tonight.
wet.
So a big kudos to
24-hour
our team
markets have
that is out
opened
there
for this
operating the
week.
Jacqueline. They have been rocking and rolling it, with the waves
Bitcoin
out there
is
for
up.
several days, but
Actually, it's down a little
things
bit.
are going to get exciting
About
this evening.
0.5% over the past day.
Now, a key piece of this landing system
94,000.
is the landing ship, which we call the Jacqueline. You want to tell us a little bit more about the
3%
Jacqueline?
overnight.
I'd love to. So we
No bueno. No bueno for Palantir. 3% overnight. I don't know if SoFi trades 24 hours. Let's see. It does. It is below $14 overnight. Let's look at Tesla. Let me just make sure I'm sharing. All right. There it is. Let's check this out.
And we also have a
this
lot of
barge
cameras
here
on our ship today. So we expect to be able to watch it live as our booster touches down. And that's just going to be so cool.
Yes, it is going to be such a pivotal moment. Our first landing
cool.
attempt for this rocket. We have got
Now,
to
keep
make
in
sure
mind, they
that
do
gets
not do
happened
barge
regardless
landings
of
for
what
the
happens. And there's a
new
live
Shepherd,
shot, a beautiful
the new
landing
Shepherd
pad there
lander.
with our
They
Blue
do
Origin feather, just waiting to
onshore. They do onshore
welcome
landings.
home a
And so,
rocket
for any of you guys that are
from
interested in
field.
watching on Twitch,
And after that booster
don't feel
lands on the
obligated.
Jacqueline,
But if you
the
prefer to
vessel is
watch
gonna
on Twitch and
transport
somehow
the
you found
booster
this
back
through
to our
YouTube,
facilities
please
here at
be
Rocket Park. We're
please
gonna
be
do an
welcoming
inspection
and
before flying
check it out over
again.
there.
And this is, of course, very important because
You've heard us sing this tune before.
And if you do me a favor, if you do
Reusable
have a Twitch
vehicles
account,
are how we will
please hit
radically
follow.
reduce the
We're trying to
cost
gain
of
that
access
following
to space.
over at Twitch
Now, I hope you're
side
all
as well. Much
out
appreciated.
there getting a sense of the set pieces here that make up
Yeah,
today's
shout out to my
launch.
Twitch
We've got
guys.
the vehicle itself.
Thanks for watching, my
We've
guy.
got
Much
the
appreciated.
ground systems, but we've also
Thank you,
got
my
the
guy.
sea-based
Much
systems.
appreciated.
And
We're
of
trying to
course,
get
all
a
of the
bigger
people,
viewership over
teammates
here, so we can start
across the
going
Cape
live more
and the
often.
US,
Well,
frankly, that
we
are
go
working
live
hard
pretty
to get
frequently,
us
but
to our
start getting a
launch.
followership over
Now,
here as
let's
well.
take a
Let's
moment
spread the
and
good
toss
word.
to New Glenn on the pad as we make our way towards the very first orbital flight for Blue Origin.
And that's important that they say. First orbital flight for Blue Origin. Not just for New Glenn, like New Shepard, not orbital. That's something that's one. So we got 40 minutes. That's one of the key things that I think that people don't understand. Like, technically, Blue Origin hasn't been to orbit. Rocket Lab has. So that's a big thing, and I don't think people fully understand. They're like, oh, well, there's reusability. It's like, well, you're not fully going into outer space. So in that respect, it's more impressive that Rocket Lab has reusability. Now, New Glenn is obviously going to go into orbit. So if they land this on the first try, which they have some sort of capability based off of the Shepard rocket, if that's the case, then they'll have a one-up on Rocket Lab with respect to kind of like a medium heavy launch vehicle landing and reusability. But the fact that this is going to be interesting, because the fact this is going to be the first time they actually go to orbit, it'll be interesting in that respect. You're gonna start buying Palantir in the 50s, sold in the mid 70s. Congratulations on the success there, my friend. I'm actually contemplating doing something comparable. Like my Rocket Lab, I've obviously been buying in a lot of tranches every time I have capital. And one of the things that I've started to do is on Robinhood, just every time I get paid.
Welcome back, everybody.
$200.
We are officially at T-minus 38 minutes and 57 seconds to go until launch, our first launch of New Glenn.
Is the volume okay? It's maxed out.
As we go along here,
if it's not,
you might see our clock bounce around a little bit. That's just our teams getting aligned and making sure that by the time we get down to zero, everybody's set and ready to go. But talking about ready to go, Denise, why don't you give us an update on the vehicle and its preparedness?
Absolutely. So our team has already completed fueling up New Glenn's propellant tanks for both our first stage and our second stage. We are now entering the next step, which is called propellant conditioning. This is, of course, a crucial step because we need to make sure that those propellants are at the right temperatures and at the right pressures. We also need to manage pressure. You might have noticed that there's a lot of excess gases
Next
that are being
does not
vented from our
trade
first
24
stage and our
hours, I
second
don't
stage.
believe.
This is because our cryogenic propellants are so cold that they're experiencing something called a boil off.
It does not.
So we are venting all that excess
But it
gas
ended at
to
$8
prevent buildup and overpressurization. You may have also noticed on your screen
last
that we
week.
have the flame stacks, or what we lovingly call the tiki torches. That's there as a safety mechanism to make sure that we are burning all that flammable oxygen and hydrogen, protecting New Glenn and our launch pad. So that is where we are right now. We'll keep tracking progress as we make our way to terminal count.
Thank you very much. We will look forward to the next update on the team and the rocket there. Now, we mentioned that we're sitting in the rocket factory here. Blue Origin's mission control is right upstairs, right above our head. And we're very close to where the rocket is itself. So maybe
Everybody's
if you
wearing
zoom out a
like
little
Lisa
bit, Denise,
Sue
you can
wearing
give us a
the
sense of,
leather.
geography-wise,
Jensen wearing the leather.
We are
I don't think
super
I could pull
close.
the
So
leather
behind
off.
me, I have a map of Florida. You can see
I'm not a leather
very
daddy,
clearly here we have Merritt Island and Cape Canaveral. If you go ahead and zoom in, I'll show you where we are right now. We are right now at Blue Origin's Rocket Park. This is where New Glenn is built, integrated, tested. This is where we're coming in live from our studio. And just a short 8 miles away, we have LC-36, where New Glenn is standing proudly, waiting for its first launch. You just heard from Eddie and a few of our employees. They're just here in Cars Park. And if you're lucky enough to be watching from either Jetty Park or anywhere up, down Cocoa Beach, you are gonna get a great view of the New Glenn launch tonight. So that's the lay of the land here. It just really goes to show you how the full operation of New Glenn is nearby.
And not only that, but New Glenn, the New Glenn operation is also right in the heart of all this great space history here in Florida.
So the Atlas II and Atlas III launches took place from here. The mayor.
Are we down a little bit? Somebody's saying Rocket Lab is down. Let's do a quick look. Is it down? What do I do? Add. Are we down? Let's see. 2580. Okay, we are down 4%. You're right. Maybe they do have something for the Candy XT or. Let's see. Nothing for any XT. Still January 10th. Let's see. What's another one? We got iBit over here. I know IONQ. People are all about IONQ. That one's down as well, 10%. What about Qubit? Qubit also down 5%. The problem I have with this is that you can't look at Bitcoin. You have to use like ETFs. So that's something I need to chat with those guys about. There we go. Let's rock over to New
You're
Glenn.
sitting there right now in Cocoa Beach.
T-minus 34 minutes.
Probably
Let's
sitting
give
in
some shout outs
nice
to some folks that
lawn
have
chair
joined.
with
We
a
got
cold
46
beverage in your
people,
hand. That's what I
4
was doing
people
if I
here
weren't
on
behind the
Twitch.
desk
Much
with you,
appreciated,
Denise.
you guys.
You guys are going to
Let's
get
go
to
through.
see
Let's see. We got
and feel this
quite a few
launch
people.
with an
We got
insane
some
view.
people
So,
checking in 3 hours
you know,
early. We got Mike
other
T,
than maybe
Cox,
tripping
Ray,
some tsunami
Brent
warnings, y'all are going to have a
Andrews,
great
Melanie.
evening.
Thank you for
There
continuing
really
to share
is
the
nothing
love.
better than a
Patrick
beachside
Feinberg,
rocket launch.
Sway 88.
Well, and weather
We got Miss
permitting, it's
Laura
not just people down here in Florida.
GGGG.
People in the
Troy,
region, kind of the
Melanie
southeast region of the
again.
U.S.
We got
You see
Ahmed
this
Hussein
image right here.
asking,
Look, that's
have I
going all the way
researched MDA
as far
space?
north
If
as
so, what are your
North
thoughts?
Carolina.
My thoughts are
several states
MDA
north are
subcontracted
going
out the
to be
Rocket
able
Lab to be able to
see
deliver
this
this
launch during
Globalstar.
different phases of flight.
Don't know what else
based on
they've
where
done.
you are. So
That might
a
be
little
my
bit of a
ignorance,
guide
but
here. If you guys
sounds
are
like
all still
Rocket
up,
Lab
you
pulled
know, it's
through
a
on
bit
that
late
one.
here on the East Coast, but this is an
We
exciting
got
launch.
Greener,
So shout
AK
out to you guys
Willie,
as well that are
Troy
watching live from the
again,
East Coast.
Fragrical,
All right, everybody, we're at T-minus 33
Mumbo
minutes
Jumbo,
and 30
Bunker
seconds to
Buster
go,
for
and counting
you
down
on Twitch.
to our launch window
Uncle
opening at T-minus
Dougie.
0
We
for
got
New Glenn's
George.
first launch.
Who else?
Please,
We got
do
Hot
not leave.
Felix, Cloud
I'm saying that. We've been
99.
talking about this
Roto
such a long time. This
Arroyo.
is wild.
Next does trade over
Now,
to
again, this is our
IKBR.
first
There you
flight.
go.
We
I
have
just saw that
prepared
as well.
rigorously for it. But I want to reiterate,
Bro, Matt, I just bought a
our
leather jacket
key
a couple
objective
too.
today is to reach orbit
Leather daddies
safely.
are in.
That in itself
It's all
is a
made. That's
big
a
deal.
lot of leather, man.
And
I'm a big dude.
anything beyond that is a bonus.
Let's
That said,
see.
we also know
Carlos,
that
thank you for
landing
the
a
$5
booster
super
would be very
chat. You
cool.
need to
We
wear
also know
dual
that it is very ambitious to do this on the first time,
bandoliers with
but
those
we're
little
going
rockets
for it.
instead of
And
bullets.
no matter what happens,
I like it.
we are going to learn a lot. We're going to refine.
SoFi getting
we're
smacked
going to apply
overnight.
that knowledge
I gotta check.
to our next
SoFi,
launch and beyond.
Shiitake.
It is an exciting day,
What do we
and
got? What do
we
we
are
got?
so glad that you are
Is
audience.
New Glenn going to the moon? I
to
think they're just
join-
trying to
join
orbit.
in on all the
Anything
action, all the
beyond
excitement. Okay.
anything beyond
While we've
orbit,
got a
they
moment,
said
we've got
they
this
would view as
beautiful
success.
rocket on the pad on our screen. Why don't we dive in a little bit deeper on New Glenn? Denise, our experts here, why don't we dig in, give our audience a sense of what sets this vehicle, New Glenn, apart from other launch vehicles, both past and present.
Let's make
Well,
sure we
to
get
start,
out.
it's just massive, just over 320 feet tall, or almost 98 meters. And just think about that. That's like a 32-story building. It's really hard to describe what that means, but another way to think about it, we all know and love New Shepard. Picture 5 New Shepards stacked one on top of the other, and that's approximately the height of New Glenn.
And that's remarkable when you think about that jump from New Shepard to New Glenn. Just that side. Oh, say there you go. You see this great image on our screen here that gives you a sense. That's a we talk about step by step ferociously. That's a big old step.
5 1/3.
It's also amazing to think that New Shepard technically could fit as a payload right inside of New Glenn's fairing with room to spare on the sides.
And as fun as that would be, we don't really need to ship New Shepard off to another planet anytime soon, as far as we can imagine. Although that would be a pretty cool, sneaky, third and fourth stage if you count that capsule in there. But that said, we make this point because it speaks to future capabilities, like moonlanders, other large vehicles that are similar in size to New Shepard. It is incredible that fairing volume and the size, what it's going to enable as we build this road to space. Now, it's not often that you get to stand next to a massive rocket like that on a launch pad, ready to go to space. But you and I had an amazing opportunity.
Dude, it's just
a day or two ago.
Next level.
And I don't know, I just look at this video and I get tingles. It was incredible to be at the base and looking at what our team has worked on for such a long time. There you see the flame trench, smoke and fire, baby. That's what we're looking for tonight.
I get chills every time I watch that.
That was just insane.
So incredible. That's not something that I will likely forget anytime soon. It's just so tall when you're standing right next to it.
Yeah. Well, that tall rocket is going to space tonight. And you all are going to be here to watch and cheer on with us. It's a big night. That's all I can say.
I think they'll get to orbit.
Hopefully
I think they'll get to orbit. Whether or not they landed on the barge, that's a lot to ask. This vehicle, like they just showed, is 5.33 New Shepards, and
it really is that.
Keep in mind, New Shepard has never gone to orbit, so if they go to orbit, that's the first time Blue Origin will ever go to orbit.
For big things,
so
supersized with an incredible
I'm feeling good for them. They've launched 20-something times before with New Shepard.
Reusable hardware.
We'll
I think
see.
that for me is the biggest innovation for New Glenn.
100%. Reusability. It is.
I'm expecting a stock correction. I'm not sure if you mean overall stock market.
Future access to space.
I hope so. I would love to buy stocks at cheaper prices. Now it might mean me I'm a villain,
and so
because I'm hoping that people's money goes less than what they have now. But at the same time, I'm looking 20 years down the road. Like I'm not in this game for like, hey, I'm calling it quits at $2.5 million. Like I'm trying to get to 10 million, and once I get to 10, I'm probably going to try to get to 15 to 20. So for me, it's about the long term.
That powers our payload into
I would like to buy stock at a cheaper price.
Another cool overlay. Oh, you saw just a moment ago of the Saturn V rocket. I mean, we are just about the same height. Like, and the power of the two vehicles and the significance to be compared to that is amazing. And you know what? Our game plan, like Saturn V, our game plan is to use New Glenn to go to the moon too. I hope you host that webcast with me too
Me
on that one.
too.
Coming here shortly. So that's our orbital rocket in a nutshell. Now, while we've got a couple minutes to go here, we're at T-minus 28 minutes to go until New Glen's first launch. Why don't we check in
Find
with
yourself
our
someone that looks at
teammates over at Cars Park? Eddie, you there?
Yeah, hey Ariane, we're here at Cars Park. We're less than 6 miles as the crow flies to Launch Complex 36. We can see a great view of New Glenn standing 320 feet tall, the 2 vehicle access towers, one of the largest water towers in the world, and we are ready. Aren't we ready, team?
Eddie, man, you have quite the crowd down there, and I feel like it's grown exponentially since we saw you last. And not just current employees, but their kids and future Blue Origin employees are all out there psyched for this first flight.
We've got our New Glenn patch.
What are you hearing the employees talk about?
So listen, we're looking forward to the rumble of the BE4 engine. We're gonna hear it. We're looking forward to the blue streak across the dark sky. And we've got, the flags, the emblems, the swag. We're very proud to be here. We're very proud to be sharing this moment with our community, right? The word that everybody keeps using tonight is grateful. How grateful we are to be here, how grateful we are for each other, and how grateful we are for the Space Coast that has accepted us.
So a lot of these folks have day jobs here in the factory.
That's good.
And you're not far
cute.
from us, but describe the view you're getting. How is it different from what people will see from here at Rocket Park?
Yeah, we've got an unencumbered view of the launch pad of New Glenn. We'll be able to see that arc as Blue Ring heads on its mission. And we're very excited about that. The air is electric here. We're just buzzing with excitement, and we're thrilled to be here, really.
I'm not going to lie, I'm a little jealous that you guys are going to get such a straight-on view of the launch pad.
We should have a poly market.
Not complaining. Denise and I have a pretty great seat here too, but thank you, Eddie. We'll be checking in back soon with you there again down at Cars Park.
We've got one more chant for you guys. We're going to get loud for you.
Wow, I love it. I love it. You feel the energy down there. I absolutely love it. Now, one employee on the New Glenn team that is not down there with Eddie, and I do want to give a special call out to our program leader for New Glenn, Jarrett Jones. Jarrett has led the New Glenn program for years, and I'm very grateful to be able to call him a friend. He has a deep background in aerospace. There he is.
Sorry for the clicking.
And
That's
he's
Chick
been
Zipper keeps
instrumental
hitting their
for
microphone.
the build up to today's launch. I mean, there you see him just a moment ago, and let's see. Can we point him out here in launch control? Yes, he is there, kind of that first row, bottom left. There you go, checking in. Got his eyes glued to his screen, talking to one of our long-term core employees here. We got Mark Featherstone, who has been also leading this program for a long time. And man, and you saw that image just a moment ago with him in front of the New Glenn. That was the day that we installed the 7 engines on New Glenn for the first time. And I'm pretty sure he is absolutely psyched.
We got to take this up with Jeff.
In the center of that
front
row in the green sweatshirt, that is Dave Limp, our CEO, who joined us just about a year ago. And man, talk about sparking some fire. It has been wonderful to have him on the team with us. And he is clearly absolutely dialed in. And last but not least, in between Jarrett and Dave, Jeff Bezos, our founder, who of course has been thinking about this day for many years. And I should also throw in a special happy birthday to Jeff. What a day. I wouldn't mind having a rocket launch on my birthday, but this man deserves it. So much patience, commitment, passion for what we're doing.
Just bring in, girl.
It's just, we are very lucky to have such a leadership team here supporting us at Blue as we go through all of these programs and getting them off and going. But at the middle of many of them and the core to making a lot of this work, New Glenn.
I don't think
That's
this
why
is going to
today
have an
is so
impact on
important.
Rocket Lab stock, but
Okay, everybody, we're
I
at
don't think this is going to have an impact on Rocket Lab stock, but
Okay, everybody, we're
the
at
stock is
T
down
minus
overnight.
23 minutes
So
to go until launch.
let's
It
take
is
a
so
pause.
great to have
Let's
you
take a
all
look at
joining us for
stocks.
today's inaugural.
Let's see. Let me mute that one for real quick. So let's take a quick look. Let me hear some things that you guys want to see. So let's take a look at let's see, we have the SPY. We already took a look at NEXT, but let's do it again. I think that one is not moving after hours. Maybe it is. No, that's Jan 10. Okay, so yeah, nothing there. We did see that SoFi is down. It's still continuing to trend down. It's not just down, but it's continuing. So it's down 2% overnight. We got Palantir. I think Palantir even right now. Sorry, Rocket Lab right now is even a buy. I don't think it needs to go below 22, but that's your MO. Palantir is hanging out at 65. We'll see where it hangs out. Overnight trading is not a indicator of what it's going to open up at. We're at 26. We did a little bit of a spike up here over the past 5-10 minutes. It was at 25.80. Now we're at 26.18, but we're still down 3% on Rocket Lab. IBIT. Let's take a quick look at IBIT. So Bitcoin's about flat comparatively to where we were literally on Friday, which means I'd anticipate MicroStrategy is also flat. Let's see. A little bit of flat, 329 to 325, so 1.5% over the past few moments. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy there. Tesla is where? Tesla is at 390 on the dot. It's hanging in there. Hanging in there, all. Are you guys buying Tesla on this little bit of a pullback here? I'm curious. I need to organize some of these. I want to set up a stream where it's always just going, so people could literally just look at this, come in, look at their key stocks. It switches. I don't know. We'll have to see. Because you can get it to switch. Like if I could do, instead of showing this tab, which I have it right now, I could have it share this entire screen and it could cycle through. So if we have a whole bunch of different stocks that we like to watch, we could have the normal SPY on the front page. So right now we have SPY, Dow Jones, and then Bitcoin. And then you could have something like move and it would roll to this next page. It wouldn't highlight and do this, but it would be something comparable. And then instead of that, we could have it as Palantir, Rocket Lab, SoFi, right? Something like this. Palantir, because everyone loves Palantir. Everyone loves Rocket Lab. And everyone loves SoFi. And you literally could just have it going all the time. And you can see how it's trading. I wonder how quick it is. Does it move automatically? I don't know. I don't know if it does. What other stocks are you guys looking for? Yeah, we have about 20 more minutes before. Let's kick back to it.
Where our auto sequence begins, and the operation really becomes hands-off for our operators. We're going to be switching New Glenn to internal power, internal hydraulics, and things will move really quickly from there.
And then as we approach the final moments and just before we light the engines, there's this water deluge.
It's a huge water deluge. This is going to engulf the flame trench completely, which is going to protect our rocket from vibroacoustic and thermal loading. Finally, autopilot.
I'll tell you who is going to Rick for firstly his birthday, and then second, that this is a successful launch. Uncle Jeffy.
Wait for that moment. So all of this is very exciting, even to just
Thank you for
hear
stopping by,
said
Roto.
out loud. I think there's also a very specific sequence for starting the first stage engines, and talk us through that, because it's not like they just all turn on at once. We got to be careful about how we sequence the engines igniting.
Correct. So you might think that we ignite all 7 BE4s at once, but that's actually not the case. We do something called a staggered start sequence. Engines 1, 4, and 7 will light first, followed by engines 2, 3, 5, and 6. Now, of course, these will happen in a very quick
That's really
succession,
interesting.
but the staggering start really helps to decrease the sudden pressure on the whole system. There just truly is so much power in those BE4 engines. So staggering them creates a more smooth on-ramp for all that power.
Absolutely. And we talk a lot about the rocket, but you can't forget the ground systems as well, right? So when we are essentially protecting the rocket from the vibration and all that.
We got a photo from Francisco Ramirez across the water. I'm assuming that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Of our launch complex. And so we want to take care of it. It's there for the long haul. But man, we got a big old powerful rocket. So this water deluge system is critical to both the rocket and the ground, the launch pad, the ground support equipment. Okay, we are at T-minus. We have just had a clock update here. We are at T-minus 37
they pushed it back, those
and
bastards.
20 seconds to go until launch. As we mentioned, this is kind of what we can expect from our team as they get aligned and ready to go into launch today. So they just need a couple more minutes, and that's A-okay. You know, we say this on the New Shepard webcast as well, which is we have spent years designing this rocket and, you know, months building it and months going into designing this operation. If we need a couple more minutes before we press go on this thing, that is A-okay with all of us. So with that, why don't we take a moment here to check out this beautiful New Glenn rocket on the pad, getting ready for its first mission to space ever.
(1:31 a.m.) is their new. That was 19 minutes ago. Let's see if they updated it. Want to be clear about our objectives. This is our. All right, let's check into this real quick. Let's zoom in. We want to be clear about our objectives. This is our first flight, and we prepared rigorously for it. But in no amount of ground testing or mission simulation is a replacement for flying this rocket. Our key objective today is to reach orbit safely. Anything beyond that is icing on the cake. We know landing the booster on our first try offshore in the Atlantic is ambitious, but we're going for it. No matter how or what happens, we'll learn, refine, and apply that knowledge to our next launch. That's a pretty cool shot. In this, I don't know if that's sunset, I guess, or maybe that's sunrise this morning, considering we're on the East Coast. And this is us right now. This is us right now. And that's even us more so now that they've pushed us back a good old 30-some minutes. So let's see if they've written anything. So yeah, it's 1:31 a.m., which is a little bit beyond. They said 35 minutes. I'm still live streaming. Okay. So this is more like, this was a couple minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. So now it's going to be closer to 1:50-ish a.m. So back to this. I'm waiting for Jeffy. It's not okay for me. Just trying to see this candle get lit and go to bed. I'm with you a little bit. Good night, good night, good night. I feel like I dreamt this. I was on a Matt Live and Blue Origin was launching, but kept delaying. Cheers. Cheers with my sparkling water. Uncle Francisco just showed your picture, my guy. Jetty Park. Got a good old 33 minutes.
Welcome back, everybody. We're at T-minus 33 minutes and 53 seconds to go until New Glenn's first launch. We are so happy to have you all joining us for this historic launch, both here in the U.S. and everywhere around the world. Denise, tell our audience, where are we up to in the preparation of our vehicle?
So right now we're completing a systems functional check for New Glenn. And this is critical because we're ensuring that all of our systems are operating nominally. We're going to verify propulsion, avionics, guidance, communications, and even safety systems. Our engineers are also running diagnostics and all the BE4s and BE3Us. We're checking flight computers, we're checking telemetry. We're also going to do one final comm check. This is really crucial because we want to make sure that we're getting the right data between the rocket and the ground, as well as verifying the signal integrity. Now, coming up, we're going to do one last weather check. This is where we get real-time data on wind speed, direction, temperature, humidity, cloud cover, lightning, even thunderstorms. Not just for the LC-36 pad, but we're also checking the weather where the Jacqueline is, so that she's ready to receive our booster. So that is where we are right now. Things are going to move quickly here.
Thanks, Denise. And yeah, we should reiterate
not quickly enough.
The weather.
They're delaying it.
Into consideration the weather here, but also
Maddie's got to go to sleep. He's got to go to work tomorrow.
The landing ship is the Jacqueline.
I think I have a 7 a.m. meeting.
Mentioned it earlier. Of course, that was one of the reasons why we need to take a little bit more time before getting to launch this evening. The sea state out there was a little rough. They were rocking and rolling. And we want to give our rocket the best chance of coming into land and sticking that landing on the Jacqueline there.
Yeah, Maddie's got a meeting at 7 a.m.
Ready to receive the first stage of New Glenn so we can take it back home, refurbish it, put another payload on top, and go again. But again, we should reiterate some of our objectives for today. The primary objective is to go to space, go to orbit safely. That's number one. And if we happen to land this booster, as we mentioned before, there are going to be a lot of people losing their minds, mine as well. So stay tuned for that. Now, Denise, why don't you go through a little bit more of the flow down there? So the Blue Ring team is up in mission control right now, also surely tracking their own checklist as they make sure the Pathfinder payload is ready to go to launch as well.
Correct. Yeah. So upstairs at the MC, we'll have a launch control and mission control. So our launch team is the one that's doing all these system checks on New Glenn, while mission control is making sure that they're doing similar system checks for the Blue Ring Pathfinder.
Wonderful. And let's take a second and dig in a little bit more on that payload. The Pathfinder is a cool piece of technology, and really it's just the initial demo for a vehicle program called Blue Ring that's quite far along in its own development. And we mentioned this earlier, today's demo is a non-separating payload. This means the payload tonight is going to stay attached to New Glenn's second stage for the entire 6-hour mission. The other thing I want to reiterate about this, this Blue Ring Pathfinder is it's going to be testing a lot of the same technology, but it's not the Blue Ring itself. It's not the same form factor, but we're going to learn a lot from this evening. Now, what we want to, excuse me, I should say, as we talk about the Blue Ring Pathfinder, I want to reiterate that it's attached to the second stage and it will stay there as it orbits the Earth. And that also is not normal, but we wanted to do that for today's demo mission. Now, today's demo mission on the Pathfinder is going to prove out some important components of our future vehicle, Blue Ring. And I get really excited. Clearly, I get so nervous, I get excited talking about this. I love this program. It's one that I've had a hand in getting off the ground for the past year as part of Blue's in-space systems team. But I want to take you deeper into Blue Ring. Let's check out this video.
Blue Ring allows you to do many different things with one vehicle.
It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of satellites. It does a lot, and it does it really well.
Blue Ring is part of building that base layer of infrastructure in space that we at Blue Origin talk about. We can take up to 13 customers up to space, up to 3 metric tons, deploy those satellites.
It's going to give them all the capability that they need to be able to be placed where they want, or they can use a lot of the capability inside of Blue Ring.
It can do data storage, data computing, relaying the data.
And it's going to be a massive asset because it now allows all these payload customers to offload all of their data relay and critical processing needs.
You've got space domain awareness, you've got communications capabilities, and then you've also got this ability to host things on Blue Ring itself.
Well, that's pretty dope.
For customers who need orbit maneuver, we can maneuver them between orbits, within an orbit.
We can have nominally 3,000 meters per second of delta V with this vehicle, and in some configurations all the way up to 4,000 meters per second. And it has dual propulsion systems, meaning that I can use the chemical systems for really fast maneuvers, but then have electric propulsion for all of the station keeping and low energy maneuvers. A lot of our work is going to be done in geostationary orbit for sure. But we've got capabilities to go out to cislunar orbits and interplanetary.
Blue Ring Pathfinder is going to be on our first New Glenn flight, which is really exciting.
This first mission, it demonstrates our space-to-ground interfaces. So it proves out that we can command our vehicle on orbit, can receive data from the vehicle.
We'll be testing out and demonstrating a lot of the capabilities that will be hosted on the Blue Ring vehicle as a whole.
We're building not just the transportation systems through New Glenn, but also the infrastructure that will help future generations take advantage of what space has to offer.
Blue Ring is going to multiply what we can do in space and create the infrastructure like nothing else.
I don't know about you, but I am pretty excited, if you can't tell, to be able to say that the team I work with in my day job, Blue Ring, is the team behind the first payload ever on New Glenn.
It is so, so cool. Thinking about the way a vehicle like Blue Ring will open up access to space. I mean, that's really what it's all about. That key aspect of today's mission is that demo of space-to-ground communication capabilities for Blue Ring.
You got it. The Blue Ring Pathfinder will be testing its ability to send commands to the spacecraft, receive telemetry, and edge processing software that will demonstrate local autonomy and machine learning that will be part of the storage and compute mission kit that's going to be flying on all of the future Blue Ring vehicles. So basically,
cool.
It has a computer predicting if the spacecraft is getting sick. We're also testing radiometric tracking, which, by the way, helps in navigation by using radio waves to track the spacecraft's position and velocity. So basically, radiometric tracking uses radio frequencies to track where the vehicle is and where it's going.
So Blue Ring is going to be very busy during this mission. It'll be sending and receiving data. It'll be tracking its own location and processing mission data real time. And all of this will be communicated over RF to Atlas antennas stationed in Hawaii, the state of Georgia, and even Australia.
Yeah, these ground stations will collect telemetry and radiometric data, which is crucial for understanding how the spacecraft is performing and navigating in highly elliptical orbits in the MEO range. Now, this is unique because it allows the spacecraft to spend a significant amount of time over specific areas of Earth, making it an ideal orbit for certain communication and observation missions. And this is all part of proving how Blue Ring can navigate. All the data collected from this mission will be used to support the future production of the Blue Ring space vehicle, which undoubtedly will play a vital role in further space exploration and communication technologies.
That data and experience gained from this Pathfinder mission will be invaluable for our engineering team. It really does pave the way for more advanced missions. It helps ensure the reliability and the efficiency of future Blue Ring.
I mean, you get enough eyes on
There you
these
have it,
things.
folks.
Why aren't there
Now,
other?
Blue Ring Pathfinder is supported
F1,
by the Department
You know,
of Defense.
people are
Innovation
watching so
Unit,
many
or
of these
DIU.
launches.
And let me tell you, we're
Why
so
wouldn't you put
thankful for their involvement
The
today.
SoFi logo on
I
it.
should say they have been so supportive of our
Maybe you can't.
Pathfinder,
Maybe
but just the,
maybe it's an
the
FAA
Blue Wing
thing.
program in general. They
Will
are
they
they are
change that?
believers like us. So thank you to them. All right, with that, we're at T-minus 24 minutes and 3 seconds to go until T-minus 0. This is NG1, the first flight of New Glenn, and we are so glad you're here joining us this evening. Why don't we take a moment to talk about our mission objectives for the launch? This is our first flight, and we've prepared rigorously for it, but we also know that none of this is easy. And our key objective today is to reach orbit safely. Anything beyond that is
They just
icing
noted
on the cake.
12 minutes
Bonus
ago,
points.
11 or
We
sorry,
know that landing the
1:52
booster on the
a.m.,
first
so
try
we're
offshore
still
is
nominal.
ambitious, but we are going for it. No matter what happens today, we are going to learn, refine, and apply that knowledge to our next launch. We're really looking forward to seeing how the vehicle performs. As I said earlier, more data, the better, right? We've pushed every single part, component,
Yes.
system in our testing well beyond its limits by design. But we also recognize that no amount of ground testing or mission simulations can replace the real world conditions of flying this system into space, which is why we can't wait for the mission to get underway, see how things perform, and apply all the lessons learned to our next launch and beyond. It is an absolutely thrilling day. Again, we're so glad that you're here to share it with us.
Come on, guy.
Now with
my
that,
guy.
we're at T-minus 22 minutes and 30 seconds to go until launch. Why don't we take a moment and check out New Glenn on the pad as it gets ready for its first launch to space today.
And I am not buying AMD at this point. For people that are interested in knowing that, I did buy some SMCI Leaps on Friday. Let's see, AMD is down 1% overnight. Let's see if SMCI is up. SMCI is also trading. It's only down. It's down 0.6. 32.40. Let's check NVIDIA. NVIDIA is down 1.5, $134 a share. Let's check Apple. Apple's down about 0.5%. Let's check Google. Google's down about the same. Let's check the Qs overall. Qs overall down about 0.5%. Bitcoin is about flat. Let's check Amazon. Good old Jeffy B.
Glenn's first launch. What a day for us. And, you know, it takes many, many smart people to bring a vehicle like New Glenn together. And one of those great people that I've had the pleasure of working with over several years is someone who now leads up customer integration for New Glenn. That is Blue Origin's Laura McGinnis. Laura is the Vice President of Mission Management for New Glenn. Now, before Blue, Laura spent time in a similar role with United Launch Alliance. She also had quite the career at the Air Force. And I had the pleasure of chatting with her just for a few minutes, just a little bit earlier, to hear what customers can start to expect from a vehicle like New Glenn. Let's listen to that chat.
Laura, thank you for taking the time, especially on such an important day, to give us a tour of the factory. This is kind of like your second home, I imagine, for the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely, Ariana. We're so excited about this factory and super excited to show you all a little bit about it.
Well, so talk to me a little bit about what we got going on here. We've got multiple rockets coming down the line.
Yeah, all kinds of things going on. So the basic layout is that the raw materials comes in from the south side of the building down here at the end of the aisle. We weld the tanks together down there. Then we bring the completed modules here for assembly. Over here we have our GS1 aft module, which will have landing legs, 7 BE4 engines installed. We do all of that work. We continue to assemble the stages down here. We build fairings, behind the wall over here, our 7-meter fairing, which our customers love. And eventually we roll out the Glen Stage 1, Glen Stage 2, and the fairings out of the north end of the building. Those are all transported 8 miles over to Cape Canaveral Space Force Station and are assembled in our integration facility over there prior to launch.
And that's also, of course, where we integrate the payload as well. Just talking about customers a little bit, what have the various customers been saying about what they're excited about?
We're working with our national security customer right now on certifying New Glenn because they really need an additional launch system.
Right.
We're also working with our NASA customers. They've got a lot of interest in the size of our payload fairing, both for rideshare kinds of things, as well as large telescopes and large instruments. Commercial customers are thrilled about our capability of bringing many small spacecraft to LEO.
And we've already been doing some integration precisely with these customers. How has that process been going with our customers?
We know our customers make us better. So these customers, many of them have been launching different missions, different systems for years and years, and working with them to understand their needs, understand how we can adapt our system to best meet their needs.
So that's kind of the longer term work that you and your team have been doing. But let's get back to NG1 for a second. What have the last couple of weeks been like down here at the Cape?
It's not simple to take this whole system into a successful vehicle. I would say one of our best learning opportunities was our integrated launch
Looks like we got pushed back another 10 minutes or so.
Beautiful. Glowing blue is like a, all right, this is game time.
Totally, yep.
Look at that.
This
man.
launch, NG1, what are you most looking forward to? When it is go time, when the rocket lifts off, what do you think that's going to feel like?
I mean, I will say I love that final 4 minutes. So when we pick up terminal count and we're counting down and the room is super quiet, the energy, the excitement, the moment, and then feeling that lift off, seeing it on its way over the horizon, and then hearing that final call out that we have inserted our payload customer on successfully into orbit is like just an amazing moment. And I can't wait for it. I know New Glenn's going to do it. It's going to be a great day.
So we were pushed back a little bit, so I'm sure they're going to
Thank you
mention
to Laura
that.
again for joining for that quick tour through our factory right behind where we are this evening.
It could be, Dougie. You know more than I do about these things, but I am getting notes from Francisco in the background. He said the sky is clearing up really well, so maybe it is them just waiting for a better picture photo finish for.
Okay, we
for
are
them,
at
but
T-minus
probably not.
31 minutes and 6 seconds to go until NG1. We continue to tick down towards our first launch. I will mention again, you may have seen we went down and then we added some more time to the clock. That is just fine. That is our team taking a couple more minutes to make sure that all of their procedures are aligned as we tick down towards T-minus 0. So you might see a little bit more of that happening here. While we've got a little bit more time, why don't we talk about the flight profile for this evening's launch? What is that going to look like?
Yeah, 4 or 5 minutes, and then it comes
today?
back down to Earth.
We've imagined New Glenn's flight for so long. We've looked forward to this day, and I'm so excited just to see another vehicle of this size flying from the coast of Florida. We're going to be feeling the power of those BE-4 engines here in the studio very shortly. After liftoff, there are a number of important milestones in the flight that we'll be tracking. So let's go ahead and take a detailed look at what New Glenn's first flight is going to be like.
New Glenn lifts off from Launch Complex 36 on Cape Canaveral. 7 BE-4 engines will ignite and propel the rocket upward with over 3.8 million pounds of thrust, or roughly 17,000 kilonewtons. The vehicle will quickly reach supersonic speeds as it climbs through the atmosphere. As the rocket ascends, it will encounter maximum aerodynamic pressure known as max Q at around 40,000 feet or 12 kilometers. This is the point at which the stress on the vehicle is at its highest. Around 3 minutes into the flight, the vehicle will turn off its engines marking the end of the boost phase. Shortly after, the reusable first stage will separate and begin its journey back to Earth. 2 BE-3U engines on the second stage will ignite and propel it onward into orbit with the payload. The reusable booster reorients in the vacuum of space using its reaction control system. At 220,000 feet or 67 kilometers, it executes an exo-atmospheric deceleration burn using its Center 3 engines. These engines gimbal for maximum control of the booster. This burn slows the vehicle down before re-entering the atmosphere. As it descends, the booster's strakes and fins work together to slow it down and guide it autonomously back to Earth, landing on a vessel at sea. At around 9,000 feet, or just under 3,000 meters, the first stage begins its final landing burn. The 3 middle engines will light for 20 seconds, slowing the vehicle in preparation for the final descent. The 2 outer engines will turn off, and the center engine will execute the final controlled maneuver onto the landing platform. The vessel will return to Cape Canaveral to prepare for its next mission. Meanwhile, in space, the second stage will continue to power the payload towards its final orbit.
What? We will
At around
see.
400,000 feet or 120 kilometers, the payload fairings will jettison. New Glenn will deliver an unprecedented range of payloads. Large satellites, dual payloads, orbital vehicles, large constellation
There it is. That's pretty
dispensers,
cool.
even moon landers destined to establish permanent human presence on the moon. This is New Glenn. This is how we will build a road to space.
Is that the Rocket Lab logo? Or Robin Hood?
So again, there you got an opportunity to see what the mission profile will be for this rocket this evening. But I think what was really cool about that video as well,
It would be
gives you a
awesome to see
sense
it
of
land.
the future as well, in terms of the various vehicles that we're going to be able to take on this rocket, whether it's a lot of LEO satellites or a lunar lander or a massive geo payload, whatever it may be. I think that's one of the coolest things about this vehicle. It is very versatile, and it's the power of the vehicle
Robin
matched
Hood.
with the volume of
You're
a
welcome.
7-meter fairing that's going to allow this vehicle to be a workhorse for Blue Origin as well as our customers for years to come. So a beautiful rocket on the pad there waiting its first launch to space.
That's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. I do want to highlight, folks, so Blue Origin was the first of the 3 companies that we generally talk about when it comes to space. It started in September of 2000, followed by SpaceX was started in 2003. I think it was August or September, so about 3 years after. And then we had Rocket Lab obviously starting up in 2006 timeframe. So interesting to see that in terms of total launches, Blue Origin, while it is the eldest of these companies, has launched the least amount of rockets. Granted, New Shepard is a larger rocket than Electron, but, you know, and they have done reusability. However, I would like to note that this will be the first time, if successful, that Blue Origin does get to space or orbit, you know, where they get to the point where you can actually claim that it is outer space. And obviously that feat has been achieved by Rocket Lab many a times, and Electron achieved that even back in 2017, 2018 timeframe. So in respect of achieving orbit, Blue Origin is technically behind, even though it is the eldest of the companies. And obviously everyone is behind SpaceX. SpaceX obviously launching the Falcon 1 rocket many moons ago, and obviously launching the Falcon 9 back 2017-ish timeframe, 2016-ish timeframe, and has had many a launch success since that point. Actually, it might have been back in 2010 when they launched the Falcon 9. I'm trying to remember. Let me just double check. Reusability of the Falcon 9 may have been was Falcon 9 first launch? Yes, that's right. 2010 was the first Falcon 9 launch, and then the first landing was 2017? 2015. I'm sorry. So the fact that we are now literally 15 years beyond for the Falcon 9, and now just getting off Neutron and now just getting off the New Glenn rockets is pretty impressive feat for SpaceX to really have gone that far so quickly. But it will be interesting to see the space competition between New Glenn and Rocket Lab, as both are trying to get the NSSL contracts, or basically medium lift launch contracts, at the end of the year 2025. We just saw the Neutron contract come out literally the past couple days, stating that we meaning Rocket Lab is eligible to be in those contracts, as well as winning a contract to launch some material for NASA in 2026, 2027. So there's that piece of it. So it's interesting to see. Now, I think what will also be interesting to see is New Glenn here will be trying to land the rocket, the first stage, on the first try in a barge in the middle of the Atlantic. And Rocket Lab will not be doing that right now. Rocket Lab will be trying a soft splash landing comparable to what they did for the second Starship. If you guys remember 2 years ago, or maybe it was 18 months ago, they did a basically hovering above the ocean. And once they basically hovered and stated that it wasn't just going to crash into some sort of barge, crash into the onshore, etc., and it was going to have a soft landing, then it slowly tipped itself over into the sea. So that's currently what Neutron is anticipated to do. Currently, Neutron is still on schedule for June of 2025. However, there are some other testings that need to be done. Stage 1, static fire. Stage 2, static fire. An integrated wet test for the entirety of the Neutron, etc. So we'll see if June it actually shows up. But so far, things look good. A lot of the other tests that have been going on have been going well. So we will see with respect to that. I welcome the competition. Obviously, this is going to only propel people to go harder and faster and stronger as we kind of differentiate ourselves from the normal, say, satellite providers that are out there. End-to-end space is, in my opinion, the only way to invest. So whether that's through investing in SpaceX privately, Rocket Lab publicly, or somehow Blue Origin privately, if it's not wholly owned by Jeff Bezos, then, to me, there may be a select handful. Excuse me. It's like, guys, there might be a select handful of companies where you might be able to do well. I know some people are really into Redwire. I know a few others that are into lunar machines, interactive machines. But to me, I just think in the long term, 5-10 years down the road, you're going to need lifting capability to really get to where you want to be. In the next 5 to 10 years, you might be able to squeak by due to the fact that, you have some funding and you'll be able to put some things into space. That revenue will get you some gross profit, etc. But in the long term, I mean, you're only going to get outcompeted by the margins of, let's say, a Rocket Lab, SpaceX, or a Blue Origin if they continue. I think that their little satellite that they're putting in, the Blue Ring, is actually going to be pretty cool. We'll see what ends up happening with respect to that. So T-minus 20 minutes, guys. I know that we have pushed back a few times, so I appreciate everybody's patience here. Let me go back to their Twitter page, X page, and see if they have any further updates. We're still holding 20 minutes, so fingers crossed with that. And as expected, we're at 12:47, and we just hit 20 minutes. They are currently targeting at 2:07 a.m. Eastern, 7:07 Universal Time, which is 1 a.m. my time. So 1:07 my time. So I guess that's what, 10-ish for the West Coast? Or is that 11-ish for the West Coast? I'm not good with math, guys. You got to help me. All right, let's go back to the chat, see what's going on. Let's see what everyone said for the poll. 57% of you think that we will scrub. 29% of you said we will not. And then 14% said we'll answer. We'll leave that going. See what people eventually got in. Let's see. My verdict is that they will have a successful orbital launch. If they scrub today, then, I think that, I don't know. That's 50-50 if they scrub. But when they do launch it, I have a successful feeling that, or I have a feeling that they will be successful, rather, and get to orbit. Whether or not they land it, I don't know, man. That's tough. That's tough. They've never even been to orbit. So to go to orbit and land on the same day, that would be cool. ET FaceTime Home agrees. That would be cool. Yeah, second stage does kind of look like a neutron, didn't it? So given the money and the hype and the backlog, no pressure, it better fucking work. Robin Hood is going literally to the moon. Let's see. Such a different approach. SpaceX has 33 engines in Starship and can lose like 7 to still make orbit. I'd be surprised if Bond can lose more than 1. We'll see. We'll see. They can deliver the moon lander. There you go. Thoughts on Planet Labs? I don't know, man. I think it's a good thought. I just, have they even gotten to profitability yet? I know they're close. Let me see. I know they're close. Same with Black Sky. Black Sky is also close. Let's see. Investor relations. 3Q update. $61 million. Still negatives, but close to break even. They have $242 million in cash. All right, let's go back.
Minutes and 45 seconds to go until launch here. An exciting evening for all of us here at Blue Origin. I'm so glad that you've joined us. Now, we have spoken about the wealth of experience in the New Glenn launch and mission control rooms upstairs. And I want to take it back to Maggie upstairs, who is standing by up there. Maggie, you with us?
Yep, Ariane, I am back at mission control. And as we make our way towards terminal count, the energy is high. It might seem like it's a little quiet with everyone sitting down, but the communications are ongoing. The launch director and his team are working super hard to get us there.
I love it. They're in the zone. So, Maggie, I'd love for you to talk us through some of the people behind the mission up there. Walk us through who's on console.
We've got some of our best and brightest here in the Mission Control Center. So the Mission Control Center is actually a network of rooms. We've got mission control, launch control, and engineering support rooms where our team is looking through data constantly. Now, this whole team is led by our launch director. His name is Ben Dykstra. Ben is responsible for the launch, tip to tail. He is doing the go, no go, and making sure that we get our best chance of success. Ben actually comes from our New Shepard rocket. So Ben is a great example of how we take our flight pedigree from New Shepard and we are building it into New Glenn. Now, Ben and I go way back. We worked on New Shepard together for quite a while, and I've had a chance to talk to him quite a bit this week. And I was asking him what his pre-launch traditions are and what he's bringing here to New Glenn. And he gave me a couple answers. One, he sets 3 alarms because he really does not want to miss his call. I have a feeling he didn't have to actually use all 3 of them today, but I'll ask him afterwards. And then he also sets little Post-it notes on the screens of his console mates so that they get a little funny note or a little encouraging thing from their launch director before they go. And then when we do terminal count, he will be doing his fist bumps with the entire team.
I love it. I know Ben is going to crush it. Why don't you give us some other highlights? Who else is supporting Ben with launch control today?
Ben is supported by a really large team, and we're not going to have time to touch on them all, but a couple here. First, we have Ann Dickey. Anne is the assistant flight director, and shout out to New Shepard again. Anne comes from that program as well. Now, Anne has been working the integrated schedule all week long, really making sure that this team is ready to go. And after we launch successfully, she is going to get herself an ice cream cone, and I will be joining her. Next, we have Martin De La Torre. Martin is a ground controller, which means that he will be working through all of the data and controls of our ground system out there at the pad. So as complicated as we all know rockets can be, the systems that are working around it are equally as complicated. And so Martin has a tough job today, but we know he's working hard. His favorite quote is from Stephen Hawking. And so he's got heroes, I think, like the rest of us. Next, we have Stephen Shelley. Now, again, you talked about the Jacqueline a little bit earlier. That's our offshore vessel. And Stephen Shelley is our offshore recovery lead. So as we go through this whole process, the team and the launch director, Ben, are constantly checking in with Stephen to make sure that we know that the barge is ready should we be able to land New Glenn. His launch day ritual is actually the same as Ben, another 3-alarm guy. So we'll be asking him as well. And then last, but certainly not least, we have Megan Lewis. Now, Megan is one of our 2 primary launch controllers, which means that she has control authority over a lot of these major systems on New Glenn. Megan is from Utah, and in a very sweet story, Megan is actually wearing a bracelet today that her grandfather gave her grandmother with charms for every Apollo mission that he worked.
That's pretty cool.
So a really incredible legacy of spaceflight in that family, and they're bringing it to the Blue family. So we're really proud of them today. Megan Lewis and team led by Ben Dykstra are getting it done.
I love it. Just some wonderful stories, and each one of them has their ritual. I'm glad that seems like their alarm system has worked, because yes, they are all on console and ready to rock and roll today. That's a good thing.
Dude, I can't ever get up.
So, hey,
I launch
Maggie, stay plugged in up
alarms.
there for us, and we will keep checking back in with you. All right, everybody, we're at T-minus 11 minutes and 40 seconds
Should we go, no go?
until launch. Why don't we take a moment here and send it over to the pad and check in on New Glenn as it gets ready for its first launch to space.
I wonder if they're going to let us listen in and no go. 12 minutes is generally where they do it for Electron. That's my guy right there. Apparently, Blue Origin uses Palantir, which is something I learned today. The last launch you watched was Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986. Hopefully this one goes better. Darth Vader is in the chat. T-minus 10 minutes, man. I'm curious when they're going to do the go, no go, or if they're going to let us listen in. Thought I heard like thunder or something. It's interesting. Let's check in how markets are doing overnight. Amazon sitting at 66%, under. Palantir still in the 65, down 3%. Let's check out MicroStrat. MicroStrat down 2%. Let's check out IBIT. IBIT down 1%. Let's check out SPY. SPY down 0.3. Let's check out the NASDAQ. NASDAQ down 0.5. What about small caps? Small caps down 1%. Hey, Mark Kiwi, much appreciated, my guy. Much appreciated for the 5 of you that joined. Be sure to hit the posts on the good old YouTube channel and join the chat. Be sure to join the chat. We just scrubbed another 28 minutes. No. They don't love us, my guys. Let's see. Nothing on 2:07 a.m. Update 23 minutes ago. Man, I don't know. Yeah, watch it in the morning. That's what I did with the first Starship launch, man. It was like push, 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 and then I woke up early. It finally was like, oh, T-minus 5 minutes. I just woke up, watched it in bed. It was pretty cool. Doug might be right, though. That'd be pretty cool. I will say it would be weird. It would be weird if like they don't see the chat, because like technically there's a chat behind this. Let me see how many people. Oh, that's not. It's disabled. No wonder why people are coming over here. They got 43,000 people watching over there. But if you think about it, like there's no chat over there. It gets quiet. You're just sitting there. You don't have somebody to talk to like me. How beautiful I am. No, I'm just kidding. But imagine the community that you can build just by allowing people to chat a little bit, It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Oh, crap. Sorry. I'm just chatting away over here. And you guys can't. I wonder why people are dropping off. It's like chatting away, listening to these guys chat. And you guys are sitting there by yourselves. I'm sorry, guys. I will not consult for oil and gas outside of my day-to-day job. Where else did I see Matt on YouTube? With the Mitt, Tanner? I do a lot of different things, man. Pouncer Weekly, Broccoli Weekly. I do a lot of different things. Thanks for bringing this up, Mike. Otherwise, I probably would have just been doing God knows what. I have a few Rocket Lab leaps, but nothing too crazy. If there's a big pullback, I might. Like if my SMCI leaps print between now and in the coming months, then I'll probably sell that and wait for the opportunity to buy some more leaps on some good quality companies. Next, Cash Flow Chronicles. Good question. We were supposed to do it this week. I didn't bug Chris. I wanted to set it up last week. He agreed, and then a couple minutes later, he said, "Actually, let's push it another week." So I don't know if he's busy. I never poked him this last week, so technically that one could be on me. But I don't know. I try to do every one that I can. Yeah, they need to stop adding. Yeah, I love doing Cash Flow Chronicles. It's fun. Me and Chris chatted about it. We added a new position, so it'll be cool to be able to share that with you guys. He may talk about it on his Patreon. I'm not sure as of yet. I'm pretty intrigued by it. I personally haven't taken a personal position in it, but I have it in the shared portfolio, the shared public portfolio. So curious to see. It's interesting. The thing that bothers me is the kind of like the countries that it invests in. So it's not that they're bad countries or anything like that, but generally economics and business is a little bit more difficult to do in some of those countries. So, but it's also a wide open market, right? A lot less competition. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. Rocket Mortgage, the Prince. Sold the house all in on Rocket Mortgages. Actually, like, it was funny because like 3 months ago, Rocket Mortgage actually wasn't doing too awful. And I said something like
Thank you
2 or
again,
3
everybody,
weeks
for joining
ago.
us. We're at T-minus 19 minutes and 55 seconds to go until launch. New Glenn looking good there on the pad. We saw some beautiful views. As Denise has talked about, all the propellants are nice and chilled down. You saw the big, beautiful Blue Origin word mark and feather on that rocket. She is looking beautiful. But we do have a little bit more time here. Why don't we take a moment to talk about the BE4 engines? We're looking at the vehicle right now.
wow.
At the base of the vehicle. Oh, that's a pretty shot right there. You see the 7 nozzles of the 7 BE4 engines. You want to tell us a little bit more, Denise?
Yeah, so New Glenn is powered by 7 BE4 engines. Now, these are the nation's first reusable oxidizer-rich stage combustion booster engines. They use liquid oxygen and liquefied natural gas, or LNG, which is essentially a commercial form of methane.
Yeah, and we selected LNG because it's cleaner burning and more efficient than kerosene, or also known as RP1, rocket propellant one. That's what a lot of rockets use. It's also low cost and widely available, which is really important when you're doing lots of launches, which is our intention for this New Glenn program. I should also note that we have done a ton of testing on the BE4 engine, and we also want to keep those costs down as well. All of it adds up, right? And one of the coolest aspects, though, about LNG is that it can self-pressurize its tank through a process known as autogenous repressurization, right? So this eliminates the need for costly and complex systems that use helium, which is pretty rare. So normally you got helium and other gases in there to push the pressures properly through the engines to get them ready to go. But with LNG, it basically does it on its own. That's what that means.
It's so fascinating. And, in terms of power, each BE4 engine generates an impressive 550,000 pounds of thrust. So when you combine all 7 engines, New Glenn produces about 3.85 million pounds of thrust at launch. And just to put that into perspective, that's roughly half the thrust of a Saturn V rocket, which took humans to the moon. Imagine that power of 200 Boeing 737 airplane engines all firing at once. That's what we're looking at here.
And that is a ton of power. You see that these images here, this video, this is from our test facility down in West Texas. And man, oh man, I have been down there actually for one of these tests.
That is insane.
And
look at that tail,
our
dude.
facility down in West Texas is in this valley, and it just reverberates. You feel like you're in the inside of a drum. It just shakes the entire valley. And I mean, it's just incredible. And we're putting 7 of those at the base of this vehicle. The other thing you should see in that video there is that it burns this really cool blue color. So that's another. I'm not saying that's why we chose this propellant, but it's a nice little bonus to it.
It sure is.
So a lot of power coming out of these engines.
It is not
but
grab.
Then also a lot of interesting technology that's gone into the turbo pumps too. You want to talk about that a little bit?
They sure are. So the turbo pumps, which pump fuel and oxygen, are also incredibly powerful. Together, they produce the equivalent amount of horsepower needed to power 2 Nimitz-class aircraft carriers at full speed. Yet each turbopump is small enough to fit in the back seat of your car.
Think about that. I mean, the comparison is crazy, but just think about that efficiency that goes into that turbo machinery. Then you also see here, obviously, the comparison between our BE4 engine. So there are 7 of those on the base of the vehicle, and our BE3U, BE3 upper stage engines, or 2 of those on the second stage. I want to talk a little bit more here. You see the comparison of the BE4 to the BE3U. You also have a comparison of the power of it as well. Both of these engines are highly sophisticated and have unique functionality built for New Glenn itself. So for BE4, as we noted, we've got 7 of these engines in total at the booster. We saw a cool image of that a second ago. The 3 middle engines are gimbaling engines that can pivot to help steer the rocket. So that will be working, of course, in conjunction with the fins at the top of the booster. Now, those 3 middle engines are going to relight to help with deceleration and landing burns. And the other 4 engines are fixed. And this is the combination that gives us both the power that we need, but also the flexibility we need for different stages of flight.
And the BE4 engines are produced at our manufacturing facility in Huntsville, Alabama, and they're tested rigorously at our facilities, both in West Texas and Huntsville, to ensure they meet the high standards.
Yeah, and we should note there are 7 of these on New Glenn, but our friends at ULA with their Vulcan rocket, they use 2 of these engines. And those have already flown successfully to space. So we are very proud of that these engines have already flown to space, and can't wait to see them power this
Another
New
fucking
Glenn
ad, dude.
rocket as well. They are going to be rattling this this building very, very shortly. Well, with that, at T-minus 35 minutes to go until launch, let's toss it back to the rocket and check out New Glenn as this vehicle gets ready for its launch to space this evening.
But no, we are not buying Grab, at least in the public portfolio right now. Actually, Grab's down pretty substantially over the past few weeks, just based off this recent pullback. So let's just take a quick look. Over the past month, it was in the 520-ish range, and it is now down to 442. It's actually down another 1.5%. I don't know if that's overnight or not. Let me see. Yes, it is down another 1.5% overnight. So low to mid fours here. Whether or not that's exciting for people, I don't know. Rocket Lab is down to 26 flat overnight. Now, what I will say is, folks, as much as I would love to stay up and stream, if this gets pushed again to beyond 2 a.m. my time, 3 a.m. Eastern, I might have to call it, unfortunately, because I do have to hit the office in the morning. As much as I'd love to stay up and stream forever. So we'll see. If they add another little bit, I'm going to end up calling it. And we'll see. Maybe they'll only top it up like 5 minutes or something next time, or not at all, you know. And we'll be able to, but yeah, I'm with you. I want to see the launch as well, man. But I'm also exhausted. I wish it was the Neutron 2, man. They are launching something called the Blue Ring, which is a satellite, which hopefully they'll be able to capture data from orbiting rockets, or sorry, orbiting satellites. Do I have a new stock of mine? Technically, I bought a Leap on Friday of SMCI. Super microcomputers. It's more of a gamble rather than an investment, so I don't want anybody following me into it unless they fully comprehend the risk tolerance of it. So they were recently dropped by their previous accounting firm. So some people think that that could either be overstated earnings or a misnumber by the previous accounting team, and so they resigned because of it. So we will see. They picked up within the last 20 days or so a new accounting firm. So obviously, if it was that bad, they're either lying through their teeth or they realized, oh, well, it wasn't that big of a deal. We're fine. You know, just they had to resign because of potentially incorrect numbers. So in the latter case, obviously that's no fault of SMCI, and they can go about business as normal. They'll release the documents. We'll call it a day. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. It could end up going to zero, you know? Broke Boy, what's going on? Yes, I did buy SMCI as a Leap. We will see. January 2027 Leaps. When the director is making that circular motion while grabbing his headset. Interesting. That's what you mean there. I bet Elon's watching. I bet. The time to rewind. Yeah, they keep adding time. It was supposed to launch starting 1 a.m. The window was supposed to be open until from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. And at this point, we've eaten, by the time this clock is over an hour and a half of that. And they are planning to land it on a barge out in the middle of the Atlantic. Back talking about how great this team is. I don't know how excited they are generally. Awesome Blue Origin is. Yeah, man. Shout out to anybody that can get a rocket up into space. It's pretty badass. Waiting for your feedback on Exxon at Chiquipo next year is for growing capital. Hey, man, that's really up to you. I mean, Exxon is doing really good things with respect to growing their FPSOs in Guyana. But to me, I'm a buy low, sell high kind of guy. So when it comes to oil and gas. But that being said, man, I mean, they keep buying back stock. They're in a good financial position. But I think you should ask yourself, what's your goals? What's your time horizon? Like, I know you want to continue to see companies do extremely well, but sit there and say, is Exxon, which is currently how big of a company right now is Exxon? Let's see, 500. Let's be realistic with yourself, right? Exxon's currently a $468 billion company. So they're doing well in that respect. What was that? So, I mean, 468 billion, they're doing well in that respect, not saying that they're good, bad. I think that, they're doing phenomenal things in Guyana. But at the same time, I guess my question is do you expect them to double, triple, or are you just expecting dividends? Like if you want steady dividends, a company that's going to be around for quite some time, I think Exxon's going to do good work. But if you expect the company to double or triple, I think it's going to be pretty hard for an Exxon to double or triple comparatively to say like a Google or somebody else. So it really just requires you to sit there and think, what is your goals and objectives for your portfolio? Now, I'm not saying Exxon's a bad company. In fact, I look up to them immensely. They do phenomenal work, and they've done a phenomenal job exploiting and appraising the opportunity that they have in Guyana. And they've done a phenomenal job navigating the Permian and growing their output there. But it goes back to, at the same time, they're focusing a lot on focusing on a lot of debt reduction. They're focusing on the future with respect to CCUS. They're focusing on a lot of different things. And will that end up being them growing to in your case, $900 billion, $950 billion market cap if you want the stock to double? So one of two things needs to happen for it to double. They either need to buy back half the stock, which means they have to use their profits to buy back over $200 billion worth of stock and keep earnings flat, or they need to do a combination of buybacks as well as doubling their income. And how easy is it to double your income? They're already making 4 million barrels of oil a day. Is there room for them to go to create 6, 7, 8 million barrels of oil a day? That's something you got to ask yourself. I'm not going to give you that answer. Because that's not for me to answer. I personally think it's going to be far-fetched. But it really just depends on what your goals are, right? If your goals are steady dividends, Exxon's your spot, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. But it goes back to the same thing with Pepsi, that I sold Pepsi and I ended up buying, I don't remember what the stock was, but it was a higher growth company. I was sitting there saying, all right, I forget what it was, 40 grand or 50 grand in Pepsi. I said, this is great. I love Pepsi. It's a great company. Am I going to lose money owning Pepsi in the long term? Excuse me, probably not. But I guess my objective was, what is Matt's goal right now? Matt's goal is to, get to the 8-figure mark and, still climb and get to that next million and then the million after that and hopefully get to that 8-figure mark. And am I really going to double up my opportunity in Pepsi? Now, Pepsi might continue to buy back stock. They might continue to grow. But do I really see, what do I think is easier?
You may have seen we've been adding some time to the clock. This is to allow our teams to go through their checklists. Keep in mind there are multiple sub teams that are up there in launch and mission control. We want to make sure that everything is ready to go. And if some of those items on the checklist take a little bit of extra time, we're going to do so, especially since it is NG1. We want to make sure that every everybody is prepared and everything is aligned. We should also mention, again, we have to keep our eyes on the weather, both here and downrange. So with that, let's continue to check out New Glenn on the pad as this rocket and our teams get ready for NG1.
But it goes back, the Pepsi thing. It goes back to me being like, at the time when I was owning it, it's like $195 a share. It just crossed over to, and it had retraced back to $1.80. And I was sitting there like, the earnings multiple was already in the 30s, high 20s, and I was sitting there like, do I honestly think that this company is going to double? $225 billion company. Do I see Pepsi being a $400 billion company? Eventually, maybe, as inflation takes hold, as they continue to potentially grow earnings, snacks business, etc. But I was like, what do I know is more guaranteed? Google going to a $4 trillion market cap eventually, or a $3 trillion market cap, or Pepsi going to a 400. And I was like, you know what? The thing that's probably going to grow faster is Google. The thing that's probably going to grow faster is Amazon. I should put my money in that. Or the thing that I think is going to grow faster than that is Rocket Lab. So let me take my money out of that and move it in.
And everybody for joining us. We're at T-minus 23 minutes and 45 seconds to go till launch. With all this action going on upstairs at launch and mission control, why don't we check in with our friend Maggie? Maggie, you got me?
Loud and clear, Ariane.
Right on. What are you? What's going on up there? What are you hearing about the status of our teams?
Yep, things are busy. The team is continuing to work through a few anomalies before we can proceed into terminal count. So we've got the engineers looking at all that data. We've got the controllers working through workarounds. So something that I think people don't always think about is that we have an enormous amount of what we're doing here in pre-launch procedures that's, scripted. We can plan it. But when off-nominal things are happening, we've got a team of controllers who can manually operate these systems. So the team that we talked about in our last bit, they are actually going through and able to turn things on and off, put different pressure through different valves. They are working through everything they can to make sure that we have a chance to launch today.
Fantastic. Yes, it's, we run through, when you talk about all the preparation for a launch, of course, we talk about, testing the rocket itself, but we also go through a lot of these simulations in terms of the operations with our team. And you test as much as you can. You go through as many rehearsals as possible. But sometimes day of, you got to put that's why we got the really smart people in there so that they can work through whatever it is they're finding that might be a little bit off. And that's what our team is doing up there. Maggie, what
Ariane,
else? Sorry, go ahead.
No, the team here has gotten some good practice. I think we all saw the hot fire that we recently successfully made it through. So that is, almost everything up until launch. Before that, we had a successful second stage hot fire. Those are those BE3U engines. And before that, we were doing tanking tests, mass simulators. We've done component testing, system testing. And a lot of the engineers that are working in this room are actually responsible engineers on the floor. So they've gotten their hands on this hardware. They know their systems.
Excellent. Very good point. I think that I've always appreciated what we do here at Blue Origin. We tend to rotate our engineers. A lot of them, as you said, get to go down to the floor, see their hardware maybe that they've designed, talk to the men and women that are fabricating, but then also assembling the vehicle. They are very, very in tune, in touch with this vehicle. So if there are things for them to work, especially in these last minutes, we've got the right.
There he is, the myth, the legend.
Maggie, I want to thank you again for bringing us all the details. We've got a couple of minutes to go here. We got 20 minutes and 47 seconds to go until launch. Why don't we take a look at New Glenn as this rocket gets ready to go to space?
Yeah, they have until 4 a.m. Eastern, so that's 3 a.m. Central. So we have about an hour and a half left going in the window. But by the time they launch this candle, it'll be about 1:50 my time, 2:50 their time. So they do have They do have a shortening window here, which is why also that if it goes beyond 2 a.m. 2 a.m. Central Time, I might call it quits because it's likely that at that point it'll get pushed. Because if it doesn't go launching at 150-ish, 150-ish Central, 250-ish Eastern, and it gets pushed, let's just say another 20-30 minutes, then they're only 1 or 2 more pushes back from missing the window. Yeah, we got our guy Fool's Gold in here, man. The myth, the legend, living it up over there across the globe. I am curious, what let's see, did Blue Origin post again? Let's see, Blue Origin 248. All right, so we're still on track for now. That was as of 14 minutes ago.
For joining us. We are T-minus 19 minutes to go until launch here, and while our teams are continuing to get aligned, why don't we take a moment to chat a little bit about this amazing building we are in, the factory at Rocket Park here in Florida. This is where it all comes together, where we bend the metal on New Glenn. I literally see people down there bending metal, pulling, putting the components together, testing, cleaning, but also not only do we talk about, just all the intricate pieces and parts here, but to build a rocket like this, the sheer scale of the facility here, this factory, but also the other buildings around here are just mind-blowing.
It really is quite impressive. So Rocket Park is essentially where we bring our rocket dreams to life. We're talking about state-of-the-art manufacturing and assembly areas designed to produce rockets efficiently and, of course, sustainably. This is where the stages of New Glenn come together.
Yeah, exactly. And the folks here at Rocket Park are not just building rockets, they're really shaping the future of space travel. I should say, I've had the good fortune of being here for 10 years now. And I have seen this facility, the whole park, in addition to Launch Complex 36, come together. And it is just amazing, like really from the bottom up. And the ability to build the next generation rocket in the next generation rocket factory. Like, our team is given what they need to make just an incredible vehicle. Why don't we take a deeper look at the home of New Glenn, Rocket Park?
Welcome to Blue Origin's Rocket Park in Florida, the home of New Glenn. This is where our orbital rocket is designed, built, integrated, launched, refurbished, and reflown, all within a 9-mile radius along Florida's Space Coast. Rocket Park is an active operations site for many Blue Origin activities, including manufacturing, integration and testing for New Glenn, and production of our Blue Moon lunar landers and future programs. Florida's Space Coast is 72 miles long and steeped in more than 6 decades of human spaceflight history. We stand on the shoulders of giants. New Glenn will help us build a road to space for the benefit of Earth. It's the foundation of everything we will accomplish. It will deliver cargo and crew to anywhere, including the moon, and help us establish a permanent lunar presence. It will enable us to harness the resources of space and launch all kinds of infrastructure to make space accessible, usable, and affordable for humans. The factory on Merritt Island is the centerpiece of Rocket Park. It's here where New Glenn is built and tested. The high bay is where New Glenn becomes real. Raw material enters at one end, and completed rocket stages roll out the other side. From there, New Glenn heads to the surface coatings facility for its thermal protection, paint, and artwork. It then heads to Tank Cleaning and Test, or TCAT, for pressure testing and cleaning. The factory is also home to New Glenn's Mission Control. On launch days, Mission Control comes alive as the rocket rolls out from its hangar down the road and goes vertical at Launch Complex 36. This historic launch site was rebuilt from the ground up just for New Glenn. Protected by 2 lightning towers, almost double the height of the Statue of Liberty, New Glenn prepares for liftoff at mile marker 0. This is where the road to space begins.
Sorry, it goes off for a second there.
What a beautiful area Rocket Park is in. There's just so much history here on the Space Coast, and we are eager to write our own chapter with New Glenn.
Absolutely. There really is just so much history, and there's something to be said about the testing and integration and design teams all working so closely together. I know that working on the programs myself, being able to talk to the designers and the people who are making the hardware is just so valuable to increase communication and efficiency, and our campus really allows for that.
100%. The physical proximity is really, really important. And it's not known, actually, but historically, rockets have launched out of the Cape, but they haven't been built here. And so to be able to build our rocket here, do the integration here of the rocket, but then also obviously the payload with the rocket. And then when we get GS1, we get the booster back, we'll be doing all of the refurbishment here. That is so important, that co-location, to have that all come together. And, you know, I love that video because you see all the action. As I mentioned, you know, it's so funny. I was looking through photos earlier today, and I've got photos in the flame trench when they were just putting it up.
Amazing.
You know, they were pouring concrete. You know, I remember being in this facility when there weren't doors on. It was just, you know, dirt on the ground. I remember no joke, we had a poll when they were clearing the land for this rocket park as to how many turtles we would find, because we have to relocate all of the turtles because there's incredible wildlife in this area. So of course we wanted to make sure that we protect those animals and the wildlife. And so we had a poll as to how many turtles we were going to find. God, I wish I could remember.
I was going to say, do you
I
remember?
know. I didn't win it, clearly. But, you know, there's just so much work that went into building this facility from the ground up. And to be here today is just, it feels surreal in many ways. And, you know, that I was just talking a little bit about the factory itself, but the launch complex, you know, LC-36, as you touched on earlier this evening, has been around for a long time, has been where many historic rockets and missions have launched from. And we basically stripped it down to the ground and rebuilt it for this world-class rocket for decades to come. You know, we invested in this facility knowing that we're going to be here a while. With that said, we also here at Blue Origin like to pay homage to the giants who have the shoulders upon which we stand, right? Like the vehicle, of course, is named New Glenn.
And there
but
it
also
is.
what's really cool is, and you can't quite see it here in the dark, but we kept what's called the blockhouse. So a lot of the previous, during a lot of the previous launches, there would actually be a crew in the blockhouse, which is not very far from that launch pad, when they launched a rocket. This thing is like a concrete fort, basically. It's not very big, and it's got, on the inside, it's got these massive, heavy doors that close to protect the teams. To be very clear, we're not using that blockhouse tonight. We don't use it in our operations, but it is something that we have kept on site because of the history that is in that facility. I hope that one day I'll be able to go back in there. I did get a chance to peek my head in a couple of years ago. It feels almost like what's the right way of putting it? It feels like a step into the past.
Yeah.
You know, the old computers and like, you know, the ashtrays. They're literally cigarettes that are still there from back in the day. We don't allow that in our launch control rooms. But again, clearly a throwback to the past. But just this facility, it feels really good to be here. It feels like we're set up for success as much as possible, which is really, really great. Okay, we are at T-minus now 36 minutes and 40 seconds to go until launch. Again, our team.
All right, guys, let's run through these last minute questions. So what time is it where I'm at? It's 1:38. We did break through the resistance. They should be sharing the tech details on why it's delayed, not talking about what a beautiful building they have. Next resistance level obviously wasn't broken. Is this a Rocket Lab product? It is not. It's Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos' company that was started in September 2000. Let's see. Sir Peter Beck, be humble. Let your actions speak for you. Yes, agreed. Far from the king of YouTube, my friend, but I appreciate the great compliment. Answering that it is not a Rocket Lab product. Birthright. Not sure what that commentary is cracking you up. Matt will be the king of an impressively sized private island. We'll see. Very doubtful. Yes, tonight brought to you by Amazon and the money from that. I was going to pull an all-nighter, but I might have to pull the plug. I know, man. I might have to pull the plug. Yeah, I'm with you. It might be a scrub, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's going to launch during a mid's open. The window is only open until 4 a.m. Eastern time, guys. So we're, by the time that this goes off, right now, 1:40. This is currently scheduled for 2. I'm not good with math. About 2:15. So that's 3:15 Eastern. That would mean they only have 45 minutes left. So if they scrub 1 or 2 more times, they're going to be outside that window. So I might end up calling it. How far out will the new launch date? Generally, they have like a week or so scheduled. So they originally was supposed to be actually 24 hours ago. And then it got pushed, then pushed again. Yeah, Europe's an 8:15 launch. There you go. Why did I kick you out of WhatsApp? I think if you were, apologies if I was mistaken, but I think you switched to a free member on Patreon. But I guess if you're a YouTube member, then I need to add you back. So that's my fault. Because it looked like you were double dipping, I guess, on Patreon and on YouTube. So if you have my number, hopefully you have it. So just grab it and message me. And I was looking through, before I kicked anybody out, I was looking through and obviously it doesn't say your name. So it just says Greener. So that's my fault. My apologies. Go for a power nap. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. Do I call it? As much as I want to.
A world of scarcity and rationing.
There has to be.
Space.
Has it been on mute this whole time?
Space is full of abundant resources and energy. Space is vast and practically limitless. If we can learn to harness the power of space and the resources of space, we can tap the limitless resources to help preserve this planet.
It's been on mute. Nobody said
We can go
anything.
to space for what we need. We'll make it routine,
I am so sorry.
safe, and cost-effective to
It
get
is
there.
way too early.
We will build the rockets and the destinations for doing real work in space.
I'm
We
the
can do
worst
even
streamer
more
of all
than
time.
this. We can move the most polluting industries
I'm
from
surprised
Earth
somebody didn't
into
say anything.
space where they can't hurt the Earth or the environment.
We can return Earth to a beautiful natural state. It will be like a garden, like a national park, a place for education, for creativity, and for recreation.
A place for enjoyment and for nature to
We were,
thrive.
we were all just sitting here in silence.
In space, we
Hopefully
can
I wasn't breathing
expand
too loud.
humanity.
Jesus Christ.
We don't want to leave Earth behind.
It's like mouth
but
breathing into
preserve
the
it
goddamn
and
microphone.
expand
You guys are
humanity
sitting there like,
into space.
why is he
We could have a
breathing so
trillion humans in the solar system, which means we'd have 1,000 Mozarts and 1,000 Einsteins. This would be an incredible civilization.
Humanity will grow and progress and use energy
You want
for
to wake me
good.
up? Yeah, man, I'm falling asleep.
Humanity
My
can
eyes are
expand into the solar system by building destinations close to Earth, close to our home planet.
New places.
I'm just over here
Places we
listening, and
haven't
I'm
even
like,
dreamed of yet.
looked over, and I'm like, Jesus, this is on mute.
Places that feel like home. Places where great work can be done using the resources
It's
of
actually
space.
a very good video.
An
I
expanse that
apologize.
is meant for everyone, all kinds of people.
This is a hopeful future, an enduring human presence in space. Space is the long-term solution for Earth.
We are building a critical part of the infrastructure that's going to allow others to unlock
the road to space so that future generations can unleash their creativity.
It won't be easy. Space must become much, much more accessible to make this vision a reality.
Big things start somewhere, and that somewhere happens to be today.
There are certain gates we have to go through, certain prerequisites. If we don't do these, we will never get there.
First, we have to radically lower the cost of access to space.
This means reusable rockets.
We have to get really good at using rockets over and over.
Reusable rockets, reusable engines.
Once you learn how to do that, you can basically start spinning this flywheel where the more you fly, the cheaper it gets. The cheaper it gets, the more you fly.
Launch, land, repeat.
Going back and landing a rocket is really hard. And it is absolutely essential that we get good at that so that we can drive down the cost of launch vehicles.
BE3, BE4, BE7, all made from the ground up to be reusable propulsion systems.
Operational reusability. That means making space travel as routine as air travel is.
This is what will radically bring down the cost of getting to space.
And we are bringing all of that learning to New Glenn, the next step of building the road to space.
Once you have low-cost access to space, the next gate becomes harnessing the resources of the solar system.
There are so many more resources up there in space
than there is on our planet.
I mean, everyone's familiar with this idea of locally sourced goods, and this is just a really extreme version of that.
The moon is where we'll learn to do all this.
The moon has a vast quantity of resources.
And if we can learn to harness those resources, we can travel without stressing the Earth.
That's the goal. We'll go to space, and we'll use its resources to power our transportation and build destinations.
Anything we need, we will use the stuff in space to make it happen.
The moon is the next thing. We're going back.
It's time to go back to the moon, this time to stay. Make no mistake about this. This is not going to get done by any one generation. One of the things that we have to do is inspire those future generations.
This vision of millions of people living and working in space for the benefit of Earth is a very, very long-term vision.
It's gonna take generations.
We have to make sure that what we're doing today is setting up the next generation.
It's going to take
This is like
all
one of those
kinds
things
people.
where like you fall asleep on the
Engineers,
couch watching
entrepreneurs,
TV and you wake up at
architects,
4 a.m.
Artists, you,
It's like one of
your
those
children,
infomercials.
your grandchildren.
It's really well done, guys. I'm not trying
This
to be
is
that
kind
much
of
of a meanie. but-
humanity's cathedral. You know, cathedrals took multiple generations of artisans and craftsmen and masons to build. And there was never the expectation that one person would design and fully execute the vision.
We have to inspire the next generation to carry this torch for the benefit of Earth.
For the benefit of Earth.
For the benefit of Earth.
We are Blue Origin.
And we will do all of this.
We'll do all of this.
For the benefit of Earth.
Such an inspiring message. You know, actually, our very name, Blue Origin, means Earth, right? So, you know, when our future generations are out there looking back, they will look back at their blue origin, at Earth, right? And so we really need to protect this planet. The other reason
pretty
why
cool.
I love our name Blue Origin is it means Earth. It means all of us. We are building these really cool, you know, pieces of space technology, not only just for one country, not only for one hemisphere, it really is for the entire world. And that's why, you know, I love that that our company has this bigger, broader vision. You know, actually, before I took my current role, I was leading our commercial and international sales, and it was just really nice to get out there and talk to our international customers and people from around the world in the space industry. I should say big shout out to them out there if you guys are watching, you know, and really talking to them about whether it's New Glenn or Blue Ring or our lunar lander, what they can do and how they can take advantage of our technologies. I just love that we think broadly like that, and it's one of the many things that's kept me here at Blue. But I also want to talk, you know, obviously a main theme of that video there is this idea that as part of the long-term vision, we really need to protect this planet and the role of space technologies. What we're doing at Blue and what other organizations are doing around the world is so important because it is going to help protect Earth, right? And that's also why we start with reusable rockets and reusable rocket engines and the way that we're designing them to run on propellants that are less harmful to the Earth, like liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen, and LNG. We were just talking about that earlier. It's just so important.
It gives me such a sense of pride because it really is about the everyday work that we do now and how that would impact future generations. So all of this is going to create a longer term impact on Earth that's truly going to benefit humans for future generations. By focusing on the sustainability of our designs, we're really ensuring that our advancements in space technology do not come at the expense of our home planet Earth.
Yeah, a couple of minutes ago, we threw it back to our co-host Eddie out there at Cars Park, and again, talking about the multiple generations, how cool is it that he was there with the father-son pair that both work at Blue, plus the son's daughter that's there, and she's just going wild over space, and she can't wait to see, this rocket launch. We have to think in that sort of generational time scale, right? There was also, our teammate that's up in launch control, whose grandfather worked, on Apollo, and here she is, you can see she's pregnant in the photo. Like, who knows what her child is going to end up doing? And hopefully, what we're doing here at Blue is going to benefit, again, these next generations. We're building the road to space with these first initial steps tonight. New Glenn. We're also talking about Blue Ring. Blue Ring is one of the first building blocks of the infrastructure that's up there in space, right? It's not just about the transportation, which is crucial, don't get me wrong, but then once we're up there, we're going to need to support others, in this case, our customers, but also ourselves, when I say ourselves, Blue Origin and some of the missions we're doing, as we build our capabilities out there. By definition, space is infinite. And so if we can take advantage of that, and if we can put things up there that will help us take advantage of that, I mean,
for the benefit of Earth.
For the benefit of Earth, the future is bright. Okay, with that, we are T-minus 16 minutes and 40 seconds to go until launch. Our teams continue to get aligned. They're working on a couple of issues. This is our first launch. They need that extra time. We're going to give it to them because otherwise speaking, this team is ready to rock and roll, and that rocket there looks chilled in and ready to go to space. So with that, let's continue to check out New Glenn on the pad, ready for engine.
That doesn't sound promising. It sounds like in about 5 minutes we're going to get another they're still holding 3:15 a.m. Eastern. Sorry about that. All right, so I'm giving this last chance. I was going to go to bed if it went into 3 Eastern or beyond, but they have about an hour left. So by the time this launches, they're about to push it. No. It went away for a second. You got me scared. So by the time this hits 3:15 Eastern, 2:15 my time, 45 minutes left. So if they add anything else, but I do, if this does get pushed again, I will have to go because I do have to be in the office at 7 a.m. Oh, they're scrubbing it. Or are they resetting it? Let's see. Let's see what we're at with the. We have 46% saying scrub, 37 saying no scrub, 18% no answer. Let's end it. I don't know. Nothing on the X page. Scrub according to Eric Berger. I'm feeling a scrub, guys. I think that they're just coming up with the correct terminology to distribute on the live stream. Which is a shame because I was going to get ready to go to bed, and if it was, I was probably going to maybe watch it in bed. It sounds like we'll just have to watch it again tomorrow, the day before. Or the following day, rather. I think you're right, Dougie, man. They're having pressurization issues the whole time. Yeah, now I can go to sleep without missing a damn thing. Because, dude, when my face hits that pillow... Luckily, there's no caffeine in these things, man. I should be sponsored. That's true. They said Matt's got to go to bed. He's got to be at the office at 7 a.m. Thank you for the 82 of you sticking around and the 2 of you on Twitch. The 80 of you guys that are about Twitch, not asking you to switch. Not asking to switch over. But if you're a Twitch guy or gal, please join me over there. Hit the follow button. We're up to over, I think, close to 70 followers over there. Once again, if you prefer to watch on YouTube, no harm, no foul. No harm, no foul for watching on YouTube. But if you like watching on Twitch, please help a guy out. Or if you have an account, please help a guy out by hitting the sub button. Yeah, I wish I was sponsored by Red Bull. That'd be dope. Let's see. Still nothing on X, as the last message was at 28 minutes ago. Cool note out of SpaceX, the Falcon 9 completes its first 25th launch and landing of a booster and delivers 21 Starlink satellites to space. That was January 10th. So congrats to SpaceX, Elon Musk, and the rest of the team. 25 launches on one booster. I'm curious to see how many Rocket Lab gets to in the coming years. Is working the office hard? It depends, man. It can be very, it's very picturesque sort of stuff. Oh, am I hearing commentary starting to come back? Not yet. It depends, man. It can be really deep technical work, or it can be more strategic sort of stuff. Quarterly planning, business planning, etc. So really just depends. Not bueno, Scott. Not bueno. There's no timer. Palantir is currently down 2.7% overnight trading. Let's see if X has any updates. Oh, looks like we're about to get some commentary.
Okay, we've just been getting an update from Mission Control. We are standing down today's launch attempt to troubleshoot a vehicle subsystem issue that will take us beyond our launch window. We are reviewing opportunities for our next launch attempt. So we've scrubbed today's NG1 mission to give the team more time to work that issue, and we're reviewing what other things that we might need to get done in that period. When we know when the next opportunity is, of course, we will let everybody know. Now, to give the viewers a sense of what happens next, the launch team is now working to detank and safe the vehicle. From there, we're going to assess, as mentioned, what other things we might want to get done in our downtime, and that is what's going to guide when the next launch opportunity will be. Follow us on social media. That's the way to stay up to date on announcements for that next launch attempt. We do want to thank you for joining us. We can't wait to get right back here for our next launch attempt. Stay tuned. Gradatum Ferociter.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. Unfortunately, having to scrub today's launch, and here we had just at the same time standing down at today's launch attempt to troubleshoot a vehicle subsystem issue that will take us beyond our launch window, which was at about 50 minutes or so, reviewing opportunities for our next launch attempt. Oh, man. It was a long one, guys. I appreciate you hanging in there with me. And unfortunately, wasn't able to have a successful launch with you guys. But let's just go ahead while we're up, and unfortunately, go on the YouTube in here, and whoops, let's pause that bad boy. Go on the YouTubes and go into content, go into live, and let's call this scrubbed. Blue Origin, New Glenn, lift off. And let me do the same thing on Twitch before I call it an evening. Unfortunately, but what I can say is thankful for you guys. There was about 80 to 90 of you guys throughout the entirety of the evening. Still 77 of you right now, 2 of you which are watching on Twitter. I don't know how many on X. Just shows me the total number of people that have clicked. So much appreciated for all of you guys, including Garcia that just chiming in now. Markets open here in the next hour or so. Appreciate everybody stopping in. We'll keep you guys apprised of when they do reschedule. I'll be more than happy to work with you guys and have you guys back again on the channel. Unfortunately, the live Suo tournament. Unfortunately, we weren't able to have a launch, which is always sad when we spend some time and hang out. But at the same time, that's rocket science. So much appreciated, everybody. Apologies for the muting. We're all just sitting there. Namaste, Goose Fraba. Hoping that we had a successful launch, and nobody said anything about it being muted. So I appreciate you guys. I'm an idiot. It is what it is. But overall, glad we were able to spend some good time together. And we'll see you guys next time. Hopefully it's in a day or two, but you never know. It could be a broader issue that unfortunately takes time to remediate. So you guys rock, and much appreciated for all of you. And I'm going to hit the hay because I have to be at the office in about 4 hours and 45 minutes. So I'm going to take a power nap. And luckily, I don't think it's going to be a long day tomorrow. So hopefully I can get out of there rather early in the afternoon and not have to work too late. So that'll be the hope, but we will see. You guys rock. Take care, and have a good evening for those of you on the western side of the globe. And for those of you guys where it is morning, happy morning, and have a great rest of the day. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.